Greetings YouTube, it is the Salty Sailing Carolinian back with another video. I'm starting a new video series for this titled Concert Memories. Today for Concert Memories is the Rush R40 Tour. Stay tuned. Some background information. Rush was the first band that I saw in concert on July 4th, 2002 when I was 6 years old at Alto Pavilion in Walnut Creek, North Carolina. That's Walnut Creek for those who are newer to the Raleigh area. This was during their Vapor Trails tour. I was forever mesmerized by vocalist, bassist, and keyboardist Geddy Lee, guitarist Alex Lifeson, and drummer Neil Peart. This tour was Rush's comeback tour. In August 1997, Neil Peart's daughter, then his only child, died in a car crash. And then in 1998, Neil's common-law wife of 23 years, Jacqueline, died of cancer. He attributed her death as a broken heart. Shortly after the death of his daughter and his wife, Neil Peart took a sabbatical to mourn and reflect. He traveled throughout North and Central America on his motorcycle, covering 88,000 kilometers or over 55,000 miles. This journey was talked about in his book, Ghost Rider. I was also able to see Rush on June 20th, 2007 at Walnut Creek Amphitheater for Snakes and Arrows Tour. Then I saw them on April 2nd, 2011 at Greensboro Coliseum for Time Machine Tour. During this tour, they played the album Moving Pictures in its entirety. I then saw them on May 3rd, 2013 at PNC Arena for the Clockwork Angels tour. During this tour, they did a set with a string section, the Clockwork Angels Ensemble, where they played a lot of the songs off of Clockwork Angels. And then after playing a lot of songs from Clockwork Angels, they even played some of their more popular songs with Rush fans, such as Manhattan Project, Red Sector A, YYZ, aka YYZ, and The Spirit of Radio. Now to the main part of this video, the R40 Tour. In January 2015, Rush announced that they would be doing the R40 Tour, celebrating the 40th anniversary of Neil Peart joining the band. This was presumed to possibly be the final tour, but Rush isn't a band like most bands are, where they're going to cash grab on all their fans. So they didn't want to bill it as the final tour, or as a retirement tour. Unlike some bands, like there's a ton of bands out there where they say it's their retirement tour and then about a year or two later they're back on tour again. In April 2015, Alex Lifeson was interviewed and stated that R40 might be the final large-scale tour for Rush due to his arthritis and Neil Peart's chronic tendinitis. When I saw that this tour was announced, I was begging my parents to get tickets to it. However, they saw that the day that Rush would be playing the Greensboro Coliseum, which was the closest to home, they realized that that was the same day I would be graduating high school, and my parents didn't want me to miss my high school graduation. I was disappointed with that at the time, because I knew that was probably the last time I would ever have a chance to see Rush, because it seemed like that was going to be the final time. Later on, my parents ultimately decided that my graduation should be spent how I wanted to spend it. So my dad got tickets for us and some family friends to go see the R40 Tour when it came to Jiffy Lube Live in Bristow, Virginia on May 30th, 2015. Now, for the R40 concert. On May 30th, 2015, my parents, myself, and our family friends, Sue, Mike, Toki, Ian, and Roger, drove out to Northern Virginia and stayed at the Westin near Washington Dulles Airport. We checked into our hotel rooms and got ready for the concert. We then arrived to the venue and got in line, and then everyone had to use the restroom. As usual with a Rush concert, the ladies' room was a short line, so my mom and Sue didn't have to wait. My dad, Ian, Toki, Mike, Roger, and myself all had to wait in line, though. There was a funny moment when we were waiting for people to get out of the restroom. My dad, Toki, and I were waiting for the rest of the guys, and some random person at the concert thought my dad was Jim Leahy from Trailer Park Boys and asked my dad to take a picture with him. And I think he was intoxicated a bit, but my dad still took the photo with the guy. And then me and Toki were explaining to my dad, oh yeah, this is a picture of Jim Leahy. This is who he thought that you looked like. And my dad looked at it and he was like, oh yeah, that does look like me. It's always funny for me looking back at that because my dad does look like him and has a similar personality to Jim Leahy at the moment. Now to the actual concert itself. During the R40 Tour, it was similar to the R30 Tour, where the tour was an anniversary tour, so it included greatest hits along with some deep cuts. The set list was unique for this tour because it was kind of like a time machine, only going backwards instead of forwards. Albums and songs in the set list for their Bristow, Virginia stop were in the following order. They started with songs off of Clockwork Angels, like The Anarchist, Clockwork Angels, and Headlong Flight. And during Headlong Flight, Neil Peart did a mini drum solo. Then they went into songs from Snake and Arrows, such as Far Cry and The Main Monkey Business. Then they played One Little Victory off of their album Vapor Trails, Animate off of Counterparts, Roll the Bones off of Roll the Bones, Distant Early Warning off of Grace Under Pressure, and Signals was also represented with the song Subdivisions. The band then did an intermission because they were older and needed some time to refresh and continue melting our minds. After the intermission, the set list was these albums and songs in order. Moving Pictures, those songs were Tom Sawyer and YYZ. Permanent Waves, the songs from that album were The Spirit of Radio, Natural Science, and Jacob's Ladder. Then they did some more deeper cuts. So they played Cygnus X1, Book 2, Hemispheres, Part 1, The Prelude. Then they did some songs off of A Farewell to Kings, such as Cygnus X1, Book 1, The Voyage, Parts 1 and 3, with Neil Peart doing his drum solo in between. And they also played the song Closer to the Heart and Xanadu off of that album. Then they played most of the song 2112 off the album 2112. So they played Part 1, Overture, Part 2, The Temples of Syrinx, Part 4, Presentation, and Part 6, Part 7, Grand Finale. Excuse me. Then they played Lakeside Park off of the album Caress of Steel, Anthem off of Fly By Night, and then off of their debut album, Rush, they played What You're Doing, and the final song that they performed that night was Working Man, with the unreleased song Garden Road as the outro. Albums that were left out during this tour that night were Power Windows, Hold Your Fire, Presto, Test for Echo, and Feedback. After the concert, the following day, all of us went to the Air and Space Museum, to the Udvar-Hazy Center, where we got to see all the cool planes. This isn't the Air and Space Museum that's on the National Mall. This is the one that is the more interesting one. That tour will always be a highlight tour for me because it was the final time I ever got to see my favorite band, Rush. In the aftermath of that tour, in January 2018, Alex Eisen confirmed that it was unlikely that Rush would play any shows or record any new material. On January 7th, 2020, drummer Neil Peart died after a 3.5-year battle with a form of brain cancer known as glioblastoma. This is the same brain cancer that killed Ted Kennedy, John McCain, and Beau Biden. In 2021, Alex Lifeson debuted his new project, Envy of None. Then, in August 2022, Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson returned to the stage together for the South Park 25th anniversary concert in Colorado to join the creators of South Park and members of the band Primus to perform their song Closer to the Heart. In September 2022, Lee and Lifeson played at the London Taylor Hawkins tribute concert and the Los Angeles Taylor Hawkins tribute concert, where drummers Dave Grohl of Foo Fighters and Crooked Vultures, Nirvana, Queens of the Stone Age, Omar Hakim, Chad Smith of the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and Danny Carey of Tool filled in for Neil Peart. They did the songs that Taylor Hawkins would have loved. For both of those tribute shows, they did 2112, Working Man, and YYZ. Seeing the performances of Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson together on stage made my dad and myself realize what we will forever miss about going to Rush concerts. Rush had impeccable timing musically. Rush was one of the few bands that could make their songs sound just as good, if not better, than it was being on their live albums. Being able to play a Rush song or cover a Rush song takes a lot of talent. If a band or musician can impress a Rush fan when they cover a Rush song, I'd say that shows true talent and ability. Thank you for watching my video. Please like it and subscribe to my channel to see more content from me.